Hello and welcome to the Smart Connections podcast and the Talk the Path podcast. My name is Anna Sanderlin. I am a Warmline facilitator for the University of Memphis Smart Center. The University of Memphis School of Social Work Smart Research, Training, and Treatment Center aims to provide evidence-based interventions for school-based mental health programming, increase access for school-based behavioral health programming in underserved areas, offer training on best practices in telebehavioral health, develop opportunities to research the use of technology in practice, and provide direct services to the state's most vulnerable populations. You can call the Smart Center at 901-678-1636. The University of Memphis Smart Center, in conjunction with the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, would like to present the Pathways to Behavioral Health Careers Project. The goals of the Pathways Project are to provide education and information on the various career opportunities in the field of behavioral health through presentations, increase interest in students in the field of behavioral health, provide opportunities for guidance with information regarding college, university programming that result in degrees for professions in the field of behavioral health, connect students with students in behavioral health programs and professionals in the field for further research. This podcast will feature students and professionals in the field to give a clear picture of the daily duties of these roles and how they help support their communities.
My name is Holly Moore. I am located in Knoxville, Tennessee currently. I'm originally from Alabama. I attended the University of Alabama where I got my bachelor's in social work and then my master's in social work. And then at the time, there wasn't really a lot of social work jobs happening. It was like a economy downturn. So I moved to Knoxville. I had family here. And I worked for a local nonprofit providing in-home services. And then I worked there for several years, 4 or 5 years before I started working toward licensure. I thought I wanted to do licensure during school and everything. But then when I got into the field, it was really hard. And I wasn't sure. I was like, do I get out of this altogether? Or do I go further in and get licensed? And so I ended up getting my LCSW, and I am so glad I did. I tell everyone, if you're questioning it, just do it.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's good. I think that's one of those things that you hear about and you're like, I feel like I know so many people, like myself included, who are considering whether or not to continue with their education or continue in the field they're going into. And so I think it's nice to hear that there's that positive side to it. I feel like
it just gets so much better. After you have your license, you're awesome. Just like, all the doors are open.
Wow. Okay. How long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed, oh my goodness, I think like 6 years, 5 or 6 years. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually am able to do supervision for licensure now. And so I've done that with just a few people. But I really like doing that and kind of being that like mentor role. Because I've worked in several different settings. And so I feel like I can provide that supervision that a lot of people would need. And I try to supervise people in a similar setting that I've worked in, just so I'm familiar.
Yeah. Right. I love that. I know for us, we do our supervision with Dr. Susan Ellswick, and it's like a group fishbowl style.
Yes.
And so even if like I'm not particularly having anything to talk about that day, it's awesome to always hear everybody else's take. And even if I don't need it right now, like what they are doing in their case now might be something that I'll need 2 years from now or a year from now, or 2 days from now.
Absolutely.
So it's awesome to hear stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
Okay.
All your questions about
the
intro?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so our next question is, please tell us a little bit more about your journey to your career path.
So I kind of always knew that I wanted to work with kids, which is funny because I don't work with kids. I always knew that I wanted to work with kids from when I was really young. And then pretty much in high school, I kind of decided I want to be a kid's like therapist. My friends, I was always the one I feel like that they confided in, and people would tell me stuff that they wouldn't tell other people. And I guess I don't know what I was giving them that other people couldn't give or whatever, but I appreciated that. Like, I really felt like that trust was meaningful to me. And so I'm like, maybe I'm good at this. Maybe I want to be this. I also am an extrovert and I love talking to people and meeting. So from then on, like when I started college, I did psychology as my major and then met a girl through some friends who was a year ahead of me. And she's like, for what you're saying you want to do, you should really do social work because there are, all these different fields within the field of social work that you can do. Psychology is more kind of straightforward, whereas social work is like advocacy and, people's rights and things like this. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really up my alley. Like it's just such a vast array of jobs. And and she's like, it's more flexible. Like you can get more kinds of jobs with this too. Mm-hmm. So, and I think she was like, with psychology, you pretty much have to get a PhD, whereas with social work, pretty much a master's, which I'll note if you get your license, it takes just as long as a PhD in another field, but that's besides the point. So I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to do social work. So I switched my major and so glad I did, obviously. And then just continued right after graduating, to do social work. And then, moved here kind of after that. Do you want me to speak on like my jobs a little bit?
Yeah. Sure.
Here? Okay. So I did. Yeah. So I do a lot right now, but I started out doing like this intensive in-home therapy for kids who are at risk of going into state custody. So who have committed crimes, or whose parents were unstable for whatever reason. So they were at risk of going in custody. So I would provide intensive in-home therapy 3 or 4 times a week for those. That was so hard. That's where I was like, do I want to do this? But I felt like that was really a great opportunity and a great experience to show me like, this is the trenches. Like this is tough, hard social work, chasing kids around the town, kids running away. I mean, just very intense like behaviors in court and everything. So that was a great experience. After that, I worked for the same agency providing services to kids who were aging out of foster care, which I love that population. It's so interesting because these are such like at-risk kids. They just don't get the opportunities that other kids get. And, college is not typical for them and jobs are difficult, resources, support system. So being that support system for them, I loved that. I thought that was really cool. And then that kind of got me really passionate about that age group of like this, like 16 to like 25 of really this turning point in their lives. Then I went on, so I started getting licensed then, and then I went on and worked in residential just to get those clinical hours to be immersed in the day-to-day mental health of it all. So a couple residential facilities, with adults, kids, just, let's see, 3 of those. And then while working at one of them, I started private practice, and really targeted teenagers and college-age kids. There's a lot of colleges here and college kids. So working with them. So I've been in private practice since, 2017 or 18. Basically right when I got licensed, I just started seeing clients on the weekends and after hours. And then now, so I do private practice a couple days a week. I have a little kid now, so I kind of am like a part-time person. But I also work, and I became credentialed with DCS to do adoption home studies. So private adoptions in the area. The homes need home studies to approve the home to take in a child. So I do those occasionally, which I really enjoy. And then sometimes, I guess, I don't remember how this got started, honestly. I think someone just contacted me, like cold called me, but I also am able to provide therapy for birth mothers going through the adoption process.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So some states require, like California for sure, requires an LCSW in the state where the birth mother lives to go over her rights and responsibilities and just walk her through the adoption process as kind of like an advocate. So I've done that several times over the past couple of years, and I enjoy that too. So it's breaking up my time a little bit. So I'm not just like 9 to 5 therapy every hour. It's just, today I have some therapy, but then I have some adoption home study stuff to work on. But then a couple days a week, I'm just in the office doing therapy. So kind of very.
That's incredible. That's going to help too with, I know I feel like in school for social work, you talk about burnout so often. And I think it's because a lot of young therapists throw themselves into the hard stuff, that nitty gritty, like you said, when you first started, like the super hardcore, chasing kids around town and, just trying to keep them out of trouble, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of young therapists, a lot of young social workers forget that there are so many things that this job can be and so many like ways to make up. I mean, I know a lot of people, myself included, are looking for, like a 40-hour a week, trying to make something stable, steady. Sure. And I think you forget that you can piece it together with little things that you enjoy doing that are like, it's meaningful work. And so I think it's incredible to hear that you found your little corner that you enjoy, that like working in that. And I know our next question goes into this, like, I know you said you started in psychology. So our next one is, did you know you always wanted to be a social worker? And I know you said you started in psychology. Did you always know? I mean, it sounds like you're working with a lot of, people going into foster care or who are in foster care or, struggling with aging out, or birth mothers who are, having their kids up for adoption. So did you always know that that was a field you wanted to work in? Or I know you said you knew you wanted to work with kids. Was it always thinking that you were going to work with kids in foster care, or how did that start?
So I remember in graduate school, in my undergrad internship, I was at a high school. So I was like interning with the counselor. Alabama didn't have state social work or school social workers at the time. I don't know if they do, hopefully. Anyways, so I interned with the counselor as a social worker intern. And I loved that, the high school age kids, like that was like, I loved that. And then in graduate school, I've always just been really interested in adoption and how it just affects your life, your entire life. The fact that you were adopted at birth or at 3 or 10 or whatever. I really wanted to do this international adoption internship. And I had my heart set. I was like, this is my preference, international adoption. I don't know why. I just was like, that seems so cool. I got placed at DCS, which is DHR in Alabama. And I was so bummed. I was like, oh, that's not cool. Like, that's going to be so boring and just whatever. And it was amazing. Like, I was at the end of it, I was like, that was an amazing experience because you got to learn about, I became close with several of the workers that I shadowed and stuff, and learning just about, burnout, the crazy hours, being on call, the different challenges they face, and how people show up years later, and the cycles and the generations that are in contact with these agencies. It was an amazing experience. And then I'm like, yeah, that's who needs my time. Like, that's where I feel like I needed it, is like these kind of underprivileged, disadvantaged adoptees or people who want to be involved in adoption somehow. So I was like, that's the social work part of it, So I don't know, that internship really gave me a lot of insight into, again, that real, like, on the ground social work that I felt like I always feel like I'm still connected or want to be connected to a little bit, even though I'm doing private practice therapy. It's like, yeah, but I want to work with these birth moms, or I want to work with this kid who aged out too, just to like remember that. That's like the basic social work,
That's true. That is a lot what you hear about first when I feel like when you're in school for social work, you hear about Department of Children's Services, you hear about foster care, you hear about, those are your main, everybody is funneling you towards those. And if you're gonna branch out to like medical or school social work or anything like that, you have to like really dig into it. But like that it's like the big headliner for Welcome to Social Work. It's like,
and you see so many systems in your community that way, like by interning or working with like a DCS, at least for a short time. I just feel like that's a great experience to get to know everyone in your community.
Yeah. Okay, so if you could go back in time, would you have done a different path?
No, I love what I do. And I always, I'm proud of what I did and how I've kind of created a space for me to work however much I want, but also and be with my kid, during these young ages. But then I can ramp it up later when he's in school and I can do more. So I'm kind of in control of that, which is neat. And I think social work in general, you can kind of do that. I think right now social workers have a huge advantage of like work wherever you want, name how much you want to get paid. Like it's a good time to be a social worker. There's a lot more funding coming in for different social work positions. Anyway, so no, I wouldn't change it. But if I had to pick a thing, if I wasn't doing this career and wasn't allowed to and needed to do something else, I would be interested in doing like occupational therapy with kids. I think that would be really
okay.
Do you mind me asking how long it took you to get, was your path, I know the normal for like bachelor's, master's, and then licensure, like, did you follow a sort of like normal timeline for that? Or
yeah, I'm very by the book and follow the rules, and afterwards kind of regretted it, honestly. But I did, the 4 years undergrad, and then the University of Alabama had a program where if you had a certain GPA in undergrad, you could start the advanced standing master's program like a few weeks after graduation. And so I think I did that, and I want to say it was like 13 or 15 months instead of 2 years. Okay. So I did that a little bit early, got finished. But then I remember, I moved away and my friends are like still in college. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
But now I don't regret it. But at the time I was like, why did I try to finish that as fast as possible? Like, where are my friends?
I get that. I think that's something that colleges push too, is like, you have to finish it.
Well, and it's cheaper.
It is for sure cheaper. That's true. I think that's always interesting to me because I know plenty of people who, take breaks between bachelor's, master's, some people who go straight into it. Some people who it takes, like it took my dad 7 years to get his master's degree. So
sure. Yeah.
I definitely understand there's like different pathways that happens. How long did it take you to get licensed?
Oh gosh. I want to say like just over 3 years.
Okay.
So which I think is about average right now. Yeah. You have up to 7 years to get it right now. They've just extended, I think it was 5, but they're like, so many people are doing kind of hybrid work schedules or not working straight 40, 45 hours a week. So it could take longer, but you're still working for it. So I think a little over 3 years.
Okay. Do you recommend a graduate to go straight into getting their LCSW or taking some time off?
That's a good question because it helped me appreciate having my license because I didn't have it for a longer time. I don't know. You get paid more sooner, the sooner you get it. That's my answer. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So even if you stay at the same job or whatever, like you will get more money, period, once you get it. So it's like, do you want to do that sooner or later? Especially if you have a job that's paying for your licensure, which I don't think I did during part of it, but not most of it. Then take advantage of that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Our last question for you is, what would you suggest to young people who are trying to identify like whether or not a possible career in the behavioral health or mental health field is right for them?
Talking to people, meeting people in the field. I mean, I remember when I met the guidance counselor at the high school where I was interning my senior year of college. I was just like, this lady is so cool. I really admire her. She's really good at what she does. Like she's doing some meaningful work and like, I want to be like her, and just talking to people about, I always had this interest in when I was a kid of like a cool job, like an interesting job. Like, oh, wow, that's not an office job where you just sit there on the computer for 8 hours. Like I want some cool job that's fun to talk about and interesting to talk to people about. And so meeting people in the field and talking to them about their job, it gets me excited about. And sometimes when I still meet people in the field and I'm like, what do you do? Oh, you work at the hospital, but you work with like these kinds of kids in a research study about that. Like that's exciting to me. some grant funded positions, like those types of jobs are kind of, I mean, they're cool to me. Like they're exciting, like new kind of research. Yeah. That's neat.
I like that. I think I definitely could have used like talking to more people, and I like advice like that would have helped me a lot when I first started going to college and thinking about it. I think you sort of forget that there are people out there doing what you think you're trying to do. Like your job didn't come out of nowhere. And so I think it's, a resource people often overlook for sure.
And all the time, I mean, when I was at jobs, typical full-time jobs, like going on Indeed and looking at different jobs or just searching like social work jobs in any city. I mean, they are so cool. Like there's some really neat jobs out there that you couldn't even imagine. And that is exciting to me. And that just showed me, like, if I was feeling burnout or something, it's like, oh, there's hope. Like I could be working at a college with college kids. I mean, that was just really exciting to me. And I think, social work's the perfect field for just that vast diversity of jobs, experiences.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, we don't have any more questions for you. Do you have anything else you would like to say to the Pathways project?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm an open book. I would love to talk to people about social work and all the things you can do with social work. So, feel free to get in touch if you want to talk more about social work. I love it.
Sure, absolutely.
I might actually be in touch because you're
seriously, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Send me an email. Yes. Send me an email, text, whatever. I'll talk. Someone posted in my like Nextdoor or something app recently about like they're homeschooled, but their kid wanted to know about social work. And I was like, yeah, I'll come over. I'll talk to them about social work. It's just interesting. And I never knew a lot about social workers growing up. So like, it's just a cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to our podcast, brought to you by the Smart Connections podcast from the Smart Center at the University of Memphis, as well as the Pathways to Behavioral Health Careers Project. If you or anyone you know needs any information from the Smart Center, please contact us at 901-678-1636 or email us at smartcenter@memphis.edu. You can also learn more about us at our website, memphis.edu/smartcenter.